Good Monday morning. What an exciting week we have. The first day of a brand new month. Spring is this month. And there's even a spring in our step today, right? For all kinds of reasons, including more news that you'll hear today, plus also the fact that we have technology news that makes our future brighter. First one, it's actually very good news, is that Apple is going to make it harder for iPhones to experience what is called a zero-click attack. There were some Al Jazeera journalists who some time ago were attacked on fully patched iPhones because of this very, very concerning vulnerability that there was no click needed in order to attack an iPhone. And remember, too, that a company called Zerodium that represents an industry of buying and selling vulnerabilities in mobile operating systems pays for these kinds of vulnerabilities up to $2 million. So for Apple to take this step in how they manage authenticated pointers is very exciting news. So as of iOS 14.5, it'll be a lot harder that even when a weakness is found in iOS, that it won't be able to be weaponized. So this is awesome news. Second story is about Kamasite. And this is a story about how the Russian GRU has had the electrical grid of North America in its sights for many, many years. And so it's really, really worthwhile for anybody who has any influence in critical infrastructure to consider that it's time to put the zero trust model in place for such networks. And then there's a story here about what the real consequences are of ransomware in academia. And in schools, in public schools in particular, the people who suffer the most are the students. So a couple of things that we would want to pay attention to. Number one, if you ever had any sympathy towards thieves, please stop, because when they impact the students of our societies, they've gone far too far. And so it's really, really important to understand that the reason why it goes so far is because of the double dipping that they now do. Not only are they holding data for ransom, but then they're threatening to leak it out on the dark web, especially if there's salacious or sensitive information that's caught up in the attack. And also another piece of good news is that the nearly 30,000 Macs that were infected with mysterious malware cannot infect any further because of a fundamental system architecture in Mac operating system that allows Apple to disable a developer certificate. And so it's good that this was found and that the spread cannot happen any further. But there is an issue here that we should all be paying attention to, and that is that there are some PLCs, like very commonly deployed systems on chips, that use a stack that is very old and has never been tested for security. And sure enough, there are PLCs now that have a severity score of 10 out of 10, meaning that they can so easily be remotely controlled and then used at the command of the hijacker. And so there's no quick fix to this, but the mitigation in the short term is to isolate these kinds of devices and use microsegmentation of networks and to make sure that there's total egress control and ingress control as well. That's kind of assumed, but egress control in particular because of how these devices could be attacked and used. And finally, did you know that there is an app called Flotato, which allows you to bring a browser into an app? So as you can see down here, I have an app that represents the Nerds on Site blog. There's no address bar or anything, and you can easily create new apps by just specifying a web address, an app name, and save it to applications, and there it is. So there you go. Have a fantastic first week of March. See you next week.